Well, hey,
Good morning.
good morning.
How you doing?
Doing all right? How about yourself?
Okay. It's cold in here. But otherwise
Same,
good. Yeah.
same.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show. We're pretty laid back. So, I've been working on not using kind of like a script, kind of just letting it roll. So, so welcome.
Okay, sounds good to me. I'm in the mood for something laid back today.
Yeah. Um Gee, I don't know where to start. We've never talked before. So, so, for the audience, this is Robert Brockway. New book is I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200. Which was amazing
Thank
and
you.
hilarious. And I I hear that you're friends with Jason Pargin.
Yeah, we've been friends and coworkers for a long time. So the whole spiel. We started work together at crack.com. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's been a
You,
while.
there's a, yeah, you got to be like a specific kind of person at a specific kind of age to remember it when it was good, at
Yeah.
least. It's been bad for a long time. But we he definitely he helped found it, and I came in very soon after, back when there was only five or six of us as editors for that site. So I was an editor and a columnist there, and he was my boss, and now he sometimes works for me at our site at 1-900hotdog.com, and he co-hosts a podcast with me too called Big Feats.
Oh, okay. So see, right, because I'm a Jason Pargin fan. Like I've got all the books. And then I found out that you guys were friends, and I was like, I'm gonna have to read this guy's books. And I'm really glad that I picked it up because I mean, it's not like you guys don't write the same, but it's kind of like that similar like horror, humor, absurd kind of vein, which I love. And especially with like the world right now, you kind of need like, I love reading horror all the time. This is a horror podcast, but to have the humor and the absurdity in it at the same time, um, I just kind of love that approach because it gives you a laugh at the same time. You're like, oh my God, what am I reading? And you're laughing at the same time. And I could see why you guys are friends because the just like the similarities in some of your writing. It I would expect you to be friends if you weren't friends.
If we despise, well, you don't know, we might secretly hate each other behind the scenes.
You
We're only
might.
outwardly friendly. No, he's great. We've known each other for a long time, and there's several other cracked writers that do other writing, and everybody just kind of takes that sensibility that we had back there, which is mixing humor with whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And back then it was pseudo informational kind of articles or columns. There's people that have gone into TV. There's a lot of other people that write books, and just kind of you'll feel that sensibility. The voices are different, but the sensibility of like, well, we can't take any of this too seriously
Yeah.
is always going to be there. That's
And
kind of foundational. We're foundationally unserious people.
but I like that. I like, it's just so much right now is just everything is so serious and weighted and just you need an escape
Yeah.
even if it's like, like I horror to me reflects the world. It's a great mirror to show you the horrors of what's going on and um it's nice to just be able to be like, oh yeah, that's fucked up, but also funny. So,
That's a
like,
pretty good descriptor of kind of what's happening to our country and the world in general at this point. Like, it's
yeah,
all real fucked up and miserable, but you have to admit it's pretty funny.
yeah,
Like,
it's
there are times at least. There are times at least. Sometimes it's not very funny at all, but there are times when it's pretty funny. Like
I think
one of my favorite examples of that is when they were first voting to release the Epstein files.
yeah.
And then the vote came out, and I don't even remember the guy's name, but it was like 472 to 1. There was one guy that that would
Oh, I can't think of his name either. But yeah, like the one guy,
one
I'm like,
guy. That's the
he's in the
funniest thing.
files.
Yeah, that's the funniest thing that could have happened. If it was nine people, not that funny.
Yeah,
One guy, and then
one
the
guy.
picture, the news story used of him, he was like had his hands in front of his face, and he was like, "Oh my God, did you? None of you guys voted. None of you guys voted against this." It was miserable. Of course,
Yeah,
the whole thing's a terror, a horror
yeah,
show, but that was really funny.
yeah. We have to, I feel like I spoke with Sam Rebeline last week and we were talking about like he's from Minnesota and I live in Minnesota now. And it's one of those things where you really have to latch on to the good stuff and the joy and the humor because if you don't, you just can't make it through the freaking day.
Yeah.
Like it is just it's a it's a shit show and people are being kidnapped and murdered. And so any chance you can take to laugh and just let it out, I think is good. And just making fun of politicians like
Yeah.
that's great because that's our First Amendment right as the Constitution is slowly shredded. Um, but it yeah, the
It,
humor helps you just survive, I feel at this point.
yeah. It's also, I don't know, it's also one of your weapons that you have. Like the
Oh
thing
yeah.
they hate the most is when you laugh at them, these deeply insecure, very stupid people that are kind of ruining the world.
Yes,
And they
that's
the one thing they don't want to be is laughed at. And like that's I'm from Portland
hmm
originally. I'm in Connecticut right now. But Portland's going through a lot of the same things that
yeah.
Minnesota. Like, just it's a target. It's a target of these people,
Yeah.
and they'll invade your city and commit atrocities against your citizens. And I was very proud of Portland for the frog, for just the frog that came out of that whole thing. And like that's a very Portland
Yeah.
response, which is just when that frog started walking up on all the ICE agents and making them back up.
I
It was
love it.
just it's very funny. It's a very funny thing to do, and it's one of the only weapons he got.
Yeah, because it's unexpected and yeah, like you said, like they don't like to be laughed at. I mean, that's why everybody's still circulating the stuff about JD Vance and the couch because it's hilarious and we
Mhm.
know that it bothers them. So
Yeah,
why not? Um
I wasn't on board with that until I saw him come on Twitter and be like, "This is all pretty funny, guys, but maybe well, all together, I think we've all gone a little bit too far with this one." You're like, "Oh, it really bothers him." Okay,
mm. You're like, yep, nope, not far enough. Now we're going
yeah,
even harder.
we were all gonna let that one drop until you did that.
Yeah, it's like you had to say something.
Hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, state of the world aside, the book, amazing. I cracked up with Ivan slipping into his Ukrainian accent. Um and I just loved it. My family's Ukrainian, and so it was fun. And I grew up, like most people, or like a lot of people, like the latchkey kid with a single parent.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of it was really relatable and just on top of being funny and horrifying, it was also heartwarming in a way, like relatable. So, you want to walk me through how you came up with this book?
Well, a lot of it's like you said. I mean, a lot of it's kind of me working through a lot of my own childhood. I was also latchkey kid of a single working parent. My dad rules. My dad was great.
Yeah.
No complaints there, aside from I did not see him as much as I probably should have for a developing brain. Uh, but
That
like there
explains
was,
it. No.
yeah, no, it does. It explains a lot. That's a lot of what this book was. Is like the damage I'm slowly realizing I'm carrying, and like how I default to being completely alone and like isolate myself from all these things. And it's because that's how I was raised, like just in a little box, and how damaging that was to me as I reflect on it. And then the other protagonist of the story is Kay, who's a little girl
Yeah.
today. And she's in much the similar situation with her mom, where she's left alone. She's a latchkey kid, and her mom
Mm.
loves her very much and does her best to take care of her. But there's not enough money for daycare. Everybody's working all the time. The people in her circle aren't around to help out. So she's alone all the time, and just how much worse and how much scarier that is now that there are so many there are so many media mechanisms aimed at kids like that. Like they know
Yeah.
you're alone, they know you're unsupervised, and there are these vast machines that are targeting your kids for there's no unifying agenda for whatever they want, whatever their agenda is, and a million conflicting agendas, sometimes none, sometimes just, views for views' sake. But there's just these people sort of now laser targeting your brain, whereas as a kid, the quiet was terrible and I had to fill it with things, and it was sometimes difficult to go find, a new book at the library, to
Yeah.
go like see if there was a new show on one of the six channels you got. Like
Yeah.
so that was sort of its own struggle, but it's much scarier to me what's happening to kids now that that's not the problem. The problem is there's way too much and there's nobody policing it. And so what happens? Like what happens if you extrapolate that out? And so that's kind of the dual narrative of the book coming together to focus and explore on that.
I love that because it is scary. I mean, there's like with the AI slop, just
Hmm.
for that, right? I mean, how much of that is aimed at kids? I mean, we know where it's being aimed at us, but so many people have, and it's gotten so good since November. I think November they came out with the newer, whatever they did with that on that side, the AI engine or whatnot.
Hmm.
And it's gotten to where you really have to pick stuff apart to make sure you're seeing something real and you still don't know. And like I'm a 41-year-old adult who is looking at this going, I don't know if this is real or not, and I shouldn't have to question my reality. And I cannot imagine that stuff being fed to a child.
Hmm.
And that's terrifying in and of itself. But then Eddie Video, where did it, is Eddie Video based on a person? Because he's scary.
He's not based on a person. He's based on kind of a conglomerate of the things you're talking about, where it's not necessarily AI slop. The AI slop is certainly in there, but children slop, like child slop, which is just like there's so many channels on Twitch, on YouTube, so many little unsupervised servers on Roblox and things that are focused in on the children, and they don't have really a creator with good intentions at heart. Even if
Mm,
those intentions aren't necessarily evil, they're just money, they're just attention or something. And so it's whatever. It's whatever I can feed to you to get your attention. And part of that, some of the influence of Capertown, the place that Eddie lives and takes K to, was based on a channel called Troom Troom, which is
okay.
a YouTube channel for children. Yeah, you've never heard of it. I had never heard of it before I found
Yeah.
out about it, but it's completely insane, and it's kind of a result of that, of like they're a YouTube channel and they make videos based on whatever trends they can find from like their algorithms and search
Mm,
patterns. And they don't have it's I think it's Eastern European, and so they don't
mm,
have like a grounding, but it's targeted at like, I mean, it's all in English. It's targeted at like Western kids,
yeah.
but they don't have like the similar grounding in culture there, and they're not like trying for it. So it's this very disjointed, very unsettling experience, and a lot of it is not a lot of it is harmful. All of it is very confusing and weird. And you're like, I don't know what kids are getting out of this. I don't feel comfortable with it. But
Yeah.
sometimes because they are just exploiting algorithms, some of it is harmful. Like they did a series on children's self-defense tips for if you're being kidnapped. Only they tried to make it all wacky and they got it confused with Home Alone sometimes. And so other times there's like, here's how you chew out yourself out of a zip tie in somebody's trunk. And then other times they're like, now that you're out of the trunk, wrap your kidnapper in cellophane. You're like, what are you can't do those two things together because that's how to get a child killed. like
Yeah. You're like, no.
like you could do
Oh
the
my
Home
God.
Alone thing if you just want to make skits, and you could
Yeah.
do the like self-defense thing, which is a little weird, but that's fine. But there's no like creative heart behind it that's trying to do something. So they're very confused, and they're like accidentally making this sort of horrible horrible slop that is poisoning children's brains. But a lot of the weird speech patterns and some of the pranks that Eddie does, like the Troom Troom is also very weirdly meat focused. It's all about like trying to bring meat into places where you're not allowed meat. Like who's not allowing you meat? I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, what is with the meat? There's so much meat, and it's like all about the meat. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
I don't know is the answer. I don't know. I
That's
pulled
great
that. That's
though.
a little reference to Troom Troom, but they legitimately have like they'll have a craft video about how you can sneak a sausage into your lipstick case so you can bring it into class, and you're like, why are you doing that? And that they never provide the answer.
That's okay. I think it makes the book even weirder now, knowing that that's coming from something like based in reality.
Yeah, go look up
Reality. True, true.
if you're not familiar, go look up Troom Troom, and here's where the horror will take a real turn for you. You'll look up Troom Troom and find some of their videos, and you'll find they have 260 million subscribers. You'll find their videos will often do into the tens of millions of views. So like a lot of kids are watching this over and over and over again. And like instead of whatever beloved story you or I had,
Yeah.
some kids out there have this. And like, what is that kid gonna be like? Because we don't
Yeah.
know.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, there you go. That's where it comes from.
That is terrifying. Um, what the crap? Yeah, no, I'm just blown away because I was like, oh yeah, okay. I mean, obviously there's weird stuff on the internet, but then just thinking that that's everybody who's listening has to read Robert's book because then you will understand how truly terrifying this is. Um, Ivan, tell me about Ivan.
Well, Ivan is more based on. I mean, Ivan's childhood certainly is more closely mirrors my own than Kay's in the book, which is that my dad had a job, we were somewhat stable, but we weren't well off by any means. And then as I grew up as a young man, I'm definitely in my 20s and probably even into my early 30s, was just there was a lot wrong with my brain. I didn't really know how to function. I hadn't been properly socialized like a dog. Uh, so and a lot of it was my fault. Like I was very curious like why things weren't going my way in the world. And so a lot of what Ivan's going through, which is in the book, he's borderline homeless. He has an apartment. He can't hold or find any normal job. It's all takes place in today. So he's a gig worker mostly. He just does whatever he can piece together from like food deliveries, odd jobs around for like his landlord, trying to get bucks knocked off of his rent, donating blood or whatever he can do to just scrape by. And he's making no progress. And a lot of it's because he's mentally damaged from killing his imaginary friend when he was a child, and he still has to sort of carry that weight around with him. And as a side effect of that, he can now see imaginary friends wherever he goes. And if they find out he can see them, they know why. They know it's because he killed his imaginary friend, and they go
Mhm.
nuts on him. So like he has to build his whole life around avoiding them, avoiding that circumstance, staying away from people, staying away from kids, and like not being able to explain why. And of course, that's just sort of metaphor for what I was going through myself.
Yeah.
Uh, Not really knowing why the world worked like it did and why I was excluded from it, while it simultaneously kind of being my own fault and not working out my own issues. So that's where Ivan came from.
I find it a lot of the parts that are really hilarious are the imaginary friend's reactions to Ivan and the way that you just how you describe the world, how you describe everything visually. I feel like it just puts you right there. So just like oh the really big one that I can't remember his name now belongs to the little girl with the very inattentive parents who just leave her at her own birthday party. Um,
Oh yeah, May and
May,
Mr.
thank you.
Twister. Mr. Twister's the
Mr.
guy.
Twister's terrifying. I'm like, you wrote that so just so vibrantly. I don't know how else to explain it. But I could picture Mr. Twister in my head and I'm like, holy crap. I was like, what kind of like what kind of shit did that little what kind of shit did that little girl like go through or see or whatever to come up with this horribly terrifying imaginary friend that it's like do they come up with them? Do they just like show up? Are they and who ends up with the terrifying ones and who ends up with the nice ones like the parrot? Like what is that system?
Uh, well, part of that is kids are just chaos, and like
That's
it's
true.
hard to imagine. One of my favorite like real life, real life, one of my favorite actual imaginary friends, from another friend of mine, an author named Django Wexler. He wrote me to tell me about his daughter after he read this book, and his daughter's imaginary friend is Jupiter, the planet. And Jupiter just comes down and will like ride in the car with them. And her only conception of it is he's big, almost as big as Daddy. Like that's what she understands about Jupiter. And it's not who you think. It's never like
Yeah.
sometimes it is a little talking teddy bear that they have or whatever. But another example from the book is somebody makes an imaginary friend out of a desk because it kind of looks like it has a face. And like they make it out of what they have nearby. And Mr. Twister is made out of like a section of backyard, like a
Yeah.
tree and a portion of the skyline, and just it's because that's where she spends all of her time. She spends all of her time being forced outside, and she just sits on the swing, and so like this is the section that she looks at, and so she's become so isolated that she's made a best friend out of this, and the best friend to her is not terrifying. She would not understand why you would find that terrifying,
Right.
but to anybody else it is because she's kind of made a protector. And there's a section in the book that talks about that, about how like to Ivan, it's okay for him to deliver food to richer neighborhoods because the kids there might still be lonely and they might still have imaginary friends. They're less likely to be horrible monsters because they're not building them to protect them from something.
Yeah.
They're just building them to keep them company. So a lot of the poorer kids, the kids in dire situations, they need a friend, but they also need a protector, like something they think is big and scary and on their side. And that turns out very badly for Ivan if those turn on him. So he has to stay away from that.
I think it's a really good commentary on obviously the the state of our country social welfare wise, just how people, like how kids end up having to be alone because somebody's got to struggle because you can't pay for childcare because everything's so expensive because people aren't paid enough because one thing out. And I think it's a really good commentary on that, especially like you pointed out, with Ivan feeling safer in the richer neighborhoods because the kids have access to safety, I guess would be the word, is just they feel safer. I mean, and it's not universally true, not all rich kids are safe, obviously, but I guess because more of a safety net than anything. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
yeah,
something Mai in the book is also that's when Ivan realizes his rule isn't universal because Mai is
yeah,
actually from a very well-off family. So he shows up thinking that it's going to be safe because that's
yep,
his rule, is that he sees, in black and white, all rich kids are fine, all poor kids are really fucked up, and realize it's not quite that black and white. There are exceptions. And so one of the most fucked up kids is, of course, from the wealthy family that is
yeah.
seriously neglected. Um, but yeah, that I get a lot of people. I get a lot of responses of like, I didn't reading the description of this book. I didn't expect it to be so much about like class warfare and the class cap. I'm like, yeah, it's a lot about that. It's mostly about that.
Yeah. I love it that it's about that. And I wish more people would read books like yours, because I think reading to me, I learned so much just reading fiction. I don't read a lot of nonfiction lately just because my brain can't handle it. Um, but I think a lot of people can learn a lot just from reading fiction, from experiencing other people's um struggles and tribulations, I think that's a key to learning empathy is experiencing things, even if you're not experiencing it yourself or with a friend, like just reading about it. And I love the unexpected, like that's what it's about, is class warfare or the um inequalities, and it's just to me, um, it's a good book for people to be like, have a good time, be a little scared, and learn something. And I mean, that's just it's as simple as that. Is like, okay, you want to be freaked out, you want to laugh, you also want to learn a little bit of something. You got it.
Should get that. I should get that on T. It's a good motto. It's how I try to live my life.
I have a question because I am autistic with ADHD, and I saw so many neurodivergent coded things in this book between Kay and Ivan. Um, is there was that intentional, or did it just like come through in the writing itself? Because to me, I connected to these characters through seeing a lot of neurodivergence, and it was it was refreshing to me. I guess it's
Yeah, it was. It was. Well. Thank you. I'm glad you caught on to that. Yes, it was very intentional in both characters. I didn't have like a firm diagnosis in mind with them. Like I wasn't trying to represent a very specific kind of, you know, autism or like certain symptoms of autism. I just wanted to capture the feeling of being undiagnosed, and like
yeah,
both Kay and Ivan are very clearly suffering from being undiagnosed. Like there are probably tools. You should get the sense that there are probably tools at their disposal if there was somebody to help them, if there was some means to care for them, if they had health insurance in Ivan's case, or if Kay's mom was able to be around more and get like more a sense of what's going on with her
yeah.
daughter when she's alone, because that's it's also very important to her that she try to hide all of that
Mhm.
and that she try to normalize herself. And you see a lot of that of like, oh, it's time to shift because mom's home, so she can't see, how I am when she's not around. I have to be normal around that.
Yeah,
So like there's a lot of that, which is, again, some of it's autobiographical of just a lot of weird stuff going on in my brain that nobody was around to like tell me what was happening or why.
yeah,
But also, again, to sort of speak to, there's a lot going on with our kids that need attention today, and they might be neurodivergent and you might be able to thrive perfectly well if there was any safety net there for them. Like you just need to be there more present. Like it needs to be sort of addressed. And like it's very terrifying that we have a generation where that's not happening even more so than usual, where we haven't learned from like what my childhood was, where it was like, yeah, a lot of people were working parents, a lot of people were latchkey kids. We were raised like that, and we turned out fine-ish. But like you would assume that that problem, you know what I mean? We're
I know
we're
what you
sort
mean.
of we're
Yeah,
sort of okay. We're still here.
yeah,
Is what I can say about that.
yeah,
But like now, and you would assume that those problems would get better over time due to the nature of human progress, and they're not. The kids are more alone. People are in worse straits. They're in more dire straits. Daycare is harder to afford. We have a smaller social circle willing to care for him. There are more things preying on like kids for whatever agenda they happen to have, and the kids have often neurological things going on that make them more susceptible, make them attach more to these things and be vulnerable to it. And like it is a lot of it is dire and intentional. Like so it sounds like I always worry like I'm the old man fear mongering. Oh, the kids these days, but like it's not. It's not the kids' fault. They're not.
no,
It's not like you kids are doing something wrong. You kids are great, but the adults around you, the people my age and so, are doing some messed up stuff to you.
yeah.
Trying to get your attention, and like there's this is kind of a tangent, but there was I played a video game for a long time, a video game called Destiny.
Okay, yeah,
Uh, and it was a fine game or whatever, but like I probably shouldn't have played it as much as I did, and I could really feel like things working on my brain that I wasn't understanding. That like
yeah.
there's something else going on here, and then I went looking into it, and I found a bunch of ads from the developer Bungie, specifically asking for behavioral psychologists at the top of their field to engineer addictive systems into a
Oh,
game aimed specifically at children. And like they were asking for major credentials. They had these positions open, so that means those exist. There are behavioral psychologists working at major video game companies looking specifically for ways to addict and exploit autistic children.
That pisses me off.
That sucks. It sucks and it's terrifying, but that's where loot boxes are from. That's where this whole like
Uh,
economy and microtransactions are
yeah,
from, or about building attachment. It's terrifying that there are these vast mechanisms we don't know, we don't think about,
yeah.
and just kind of preying on you the whole time. So like, I don't know, I draw from that kind of stuff.
I mean, that's terrifying. I have a psychology degree. I'm doing nothing with it here, clearly. But but that's terrifying knowing that I mean, it's not surprising, but it's
Yeah,
surprising at the same time. I mean, you know what I mean.
yeah,
And
no, I
then
do.
like the safety nets for the kids and kids being preyed upon and stuff like that, and especially with autistic and just neurodivergent kids in general, you know, like I didn't find out I was autistic until 3 years ago. And the only reason I found out was because I started, like, the algorithm was feeding me shit on Instagram. And I was like, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. And you go through enough videos and you're like, okay, maybe I should talk to somebody about this. And it's like I talked to my therapist and she's like, yeah, probably. And I'm like, oh, you could have told me that. Like that would have been helpful information. But it's not accessible. Like an autism evaluation was $2,000. Like insurance didn't even cover it. The only
Yeah.
reason I even was able to be evaluated was because my mom chipped in money, you know. And she did that because she felt guilty because she's like, "Oh God." She's like, "You're probably autistic and I never knew." I'm
Yeah.
like, "It's okay, Mom, because so are you. It's fine." Um
You
that's why
won't ever know.
yeah, no. And but it's like, yeah, like that kind of stuff is not accessible to people. It might be accessible to somebody with a lot of money, but then if those kids are being neglected, eh, how does anybody know? Because you've got
Yeah.
to be spending time with somebody to know they're a certain kind of neurospicy. And yeah,
Yeah, and that's what I mean with that's what I mean with people coming in and saying like I was surprised this was about, class warfare and wage gap stuff. Like, well, if you want to talk about it, you can't not. It can't
yeah,
not be about that. It wasn't that I was like I'm going to write a takedown of the difference in the modern class system. But like if you want to talk about how I was raised and what's going on with my head and what I worry about when I see like the way things are going and the way things are going for kids especially, like you have to talk about it because
yeah,
it's like you're wondering, oh, you could just go, why is anybody undiagnosed? Like we have systems in place, so how could you go your whole life without knowing that? Well, I didn't have $2,000. Like
yeah.
is the answer. Like, well, that can't be. Yeah, no, that's it.
It's literally the only
That's
reason.
it.
You didn't have $2,000. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you weren't around because I had to work all the time, and so
Yeah.
nobody knew. And
Yeah.
like my wife went through it too. She was diagnosed with ADHD, but like not until just a few years ago, not until her
Hmm.
late 30s, and it wasn't like her life was generally a shambles in a lot of ways, like,
Hmm.
as all of ours are, like not much more, but there's just struggling and wondering like why am I struggling so much with this when it seems so easy
Yeah.
for everybody else, and there was nobody there to tell her go look into this
Yeah.
until like her late 30s when she looked into it and she takes a couple of pills once a day, just working just fine.
Yeah. It's crazy when things start to kind of click into place and you're like, "Oh, that's why I've had so much trouble."
Mm,
Like I had so much trouble holding down jobs and now I have a great job. And it's because I work with mostly neurodivergent people who accommodate me and understand. And it's really cool. But
yeah, there are ways to thrive. It's just
yeah.
yeah, but you have to be allowed to be put into that position, which is where we're failing.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately. Um, we got a few minutes left. What do you got coming up? What's going on?
I don't know right now. I work. I I mean, I'm in a very fortunate position myself in that I work for my own site. I work
Yeah.
for 1-900hotdog.com. That's a site where I write. So that keeps me busy. That keeps my brain engaged most of the time. And I have to kind of steal time to write other projects. So I don't have another book I've started on yet or anything. I'm kind of feeling out how that's going. I also have I have a film guy, I have a screen rights manager. And so it's a little easier just to find time to write scripts now and then and see like, all right, is this something? And in fact, this book came from a script originally. I
Oh, cool.
wrote it. Yeah, I wrote it as a script. It was the first script I ever wrote, and then it was a problem because I was coming from books, and so I came
Yeah.
out and I basically tried to write a book into a script, and like without knowing to adapt it, and it was too crowded and it wasn't enough room to breathe, and there was like it needed more time, and so eventually I came around and was like, all right, this doesn't work as a script. This should have always been a book first,
Yeah.
and then we expanded it, and that kind of helps sometimes. It helps my story brain figure something out if I can write it in a shorter form, a short story or a script or something like that. So I'm hoping to figure out what the next book is going to be by writing some scripts, by writing some short stories, or just cruise along until something really latches on.
That's cool though. I like it. Just whatever happens is what comes up next.
Yeah, I'm not. The glory and the tragedy of it are that you basically can't be a full-time writer of like books or fiction or
Yeah.
anything anymore. Like I know a few, but they are people who were already established before this full collapse. So if you aren't already established, which I was not, there's not really a path for that anymore.
Yeah. Just a
Uh,
bummer.
and it is a bummer because that's my favorite thing, is specifically writing stories. Like I love the writing that I do online and for 1-900 Hot Dog. I love the podcasts I do with my friends. But like my passion is writing stories, and I have to be like, I don't know what the next one is. I should. That should be in an ideal world. I should be like, yeah, because I have a million
Yeah.
ideas. I'd love to get to all of them.
Yeah.
But I have to like really evaluate how much time am I going to have? Is this idea important enough to like take away from, making rent? Uh,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but that's where I am.
Yeah. One of them will come to the front and work its way around
Yeah.
next.
And then
Um,
I'll have to figure out the time to write it. So it might be some time.
but that's okay. That's okay. In the meantime, everybody go pick up I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200. Robert Brockway. You can catch you on 1-900hotdog.com and Big Feats with Jason Pargin,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, this has been wonderful. Thank you so
Thanks
much
so
for
much for
joining
having
me
me.
today. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been great. Take it easy and I will talk to you hopefully soon. Whenever the next thing happens, just
Okay.
give me a ring.
It might be some time, but
We
yes,
we
for
could
sure.
talk about the craziness of the world in the meantime, right?
Yeah. We'll do it from under the boot of a robot, but we'll do
Yeah, yeah, probably. God, that sucks. Oh, yeah.
it.
Have a good one,
uh,
dude.